for a man who has quite a lot of credence in the Age of Empires world, just doesn't seem to get his coverage. We're going to be checking out some Tatoh, but he's going to need an opponent. His opponent is going to be the formidable Leenock. Let's get underway. As we are here for the N4C recap on a series that I didn't notice anyone covering. When I search for this on Google, I just can't get any results, so I just assume that nobody likes these guys. No one wanted to cover the game. I don't know why you wouldn't want to cover the game. These are two incredible players in their own rights. Tatoh, of course, has a lot of prestige in the Age of Empires 2 community. Hasn't really been able to dedicate the time that maybe we would have liked to have seen to AoE 4, but he came through for the qualifier looking to actually, you know, get himself a little bit of an anchorage in the scene, shall we say. But his opponent, Leenock, man, this guy threw away a huge scene. He was deep, ingrained in the StarCraft universe. This guy is incredibly well decorated. He's earned more money in his career than the Viper has. That should say plenty. I mean, the main thing will say is that StarCraft has a crap ton of money in it. But this guy was, even when he stopped playing, even when he fully committed to Age of Empires, I'd say he was considered probably like top 30 active Korean players, which, you know, oh, that doesn't sound that incredible. No, that's actually pretty respectable. The Koreans are like on a whole other level when it comes to the StarCraft games. So to still be even in a top 50 ranking really just kind of explains the credence behind this guy, the legacy behind Leenock. So I'm excited to see what he's going to be doing in this series up against Tatoh, as it really is the kind of the clash of craft and an Age of Empires, right? Like, we've been seeing this time and time again. This is more or less just becoming kind of the shaper, is Age players versus craft players. And it's always interesting at the start of these games to see the prioritization on vision, because it has to be said that something that I absolutely disagree with from these Age of Empires players, Age of Mythology, whatever it is there's a lot of reluctance towards heavy investment in vision. And in this game, we will see neither player bother with the secondary scout as it stands. Not too surprising, because this is an Abbasid matchup. I know. I kind of baited you in. I reeled you in with 2 minutes in, and someone just looked and went, "Hold on, this is a mirror matchup," and they've already just stopped watching the video. But trust me, this one should be interesting. This one is going to go a distance. I'm looking forward to seeing where these two kind of deviate, where their paths shift off. The interesting thing is actually, because they are both playing the Abbasids, neither of them sees a prioritization as secondary scout. The reason being is actually you want to immediately shift out onto these berry lines. Normally when we see Abbasid versus HRE, or, you know, Delhi versus England, whatever it is, right, there's a prioritization to get a second scout out, gather as many sheep up as possible, return them to your base. Even in those games where there's an Abbasid player might still go for a second scout, due to the fact that although they may not need the sheep imperatively the way that, say, England or maybe China does, that's the important detail. While I don't need it, my opponent does. So if you get a second scout and are able to deny a lot of surplus food going back to the safety of their TC, that's a huge booster to your mid-game eco situation. But in an Abbasid, that just doesn't matter. Both of them know what they want to do. It's going to be Berry Bush Warfare 101. And what? Oh, this is a very interesting opening, actually, from Tatoh. So Tatoh's already gotten on the stone, so he's trying to actually prep for an immediate TC as soon as possible. But he's sacrificed so much food gathering by doing this. I know it's a little bit far away from your berry bush, from your TC, right? In that way, Leenock kind of get a better spawn, like his berry bushes are in range of his TC to protect, whereas yours are maybe a little, I'd say they're pretty similar, maybe a little bit loose on the side. But it's very odd. I don't remember the last time in the last few weeks I've seen an Abbasid player neglect berries on opening. It's a very different style. It also means you're not prepped to do exactly this. Look, Leenock, right now, like, you're locked in, right? You're going up on these techs no matter what. But what Leenock has ensured by getting this mill down so early is that he's able to research wheelbarrow tech. That's a minute and a half research. You want to get as early as possible to maximize the potential gained out of it. But instead, because Tatoh doesn't actually have a mill, he can't even initiate that research. So really, Tatoh is all in on this kind of TC rush play. And the interesting part to me is we're going to get to kind of witness which one is better, right? Like, we're going to get a clear understanding of, like, is it better to go for the berry bush into the immediate wheelbarrows, or getting that TC up a little bit quicker? Will it pay off better? I've got a feeling the wheelbarrow plus berry bush gathering is just better. Like, I don't think it's even close, really. I think it's kind of trivial to even argue differently. Like the huge influx of extra food you get from gathering the berry bush line. Wheelbarrow also then inflating that further. Remember that you get the extra +5, so you're up to 18 berries being gathered and carried. Not to mention the save time. Like for an extra minute and a half, at least. In fact, a lot longer than that in this game. Leenock's villagers are able to more efficiently move into these new production lines. So when you push out a villager, they're going to zoom across wherever they got to go. You know, as this wood line starts to get chomped away at, your villager's going to return much quicker. Meanwhile, Tatoh, he just ignores it completely. He's still not going for it. He is going for the second TC now. I do feel like he needs that mill, though. Like, as soon as you got the 50 wood, it's worth dropping one right here. Because I think you're missing a big trick if you're just not getting wheelbarrow tech this early. The only way it makes sense to me is if you have plans for some sort of aggression instead. But, like, you know, this isn't an aggressive playstyle. This is a I like TCs, you like TCs, we all like TCs, woo! Situation. And it looks like Leenock, we talked about this, he will be delayed. He could have actually balanced his eco a little bit better. You can see it as well. Like, he's got ridiculous surplus wood. I think Leenock was stockpiling this because he wasn't sure if he was going to need to get aggressive early on. Something that Leenock could have easily just garnered for himself if he sent the scout over earlier. But instead, just trying to return those sheep, trying to prioritize that. It means that he's going to get vision on what's happened. He's going to see he's behind on the TC expansion already. This isn't going to be a good feeling. And it's going to be a little bit confusing at first for Leenock. Because from his perspective, like, this is a weird Abbasid opening, right? Like, you always go berry bushes first. But Tatoh is just kind of throwing a curveball. I'd say not even a curveball. This is just kind of old gen Abbasids, really. I think this speaks to maybe, I don't know, like Tatoh obviously getting comfortable when the Age of Empires 4 came out with certain civs, then going back to the AoE 2 grind, then you return. And, like, you haven't really maybe respected the power of the mill early on these berry bushes. In fact, when we look at the income per minute, we can actually now see that Tatoh is clearly ahead, but at the start of the game, that just wasn't the case. In this situation, though, Leenock has got his secondary TC up. However, he is now trailing by 3 villages. Fresh foodstuffs has already been researched, and it's going to be a third TC. There it is. That's why Leenock stocked up so much. So he wanted to float his food eco and keep wood surplus so that he could then immediately shift over onto stone and then Zerg construct up a third TC. This is actually really cool. And I don't think I don't think this is going to be spotted. Like Tatoh right now, if you look, his vision's all back in base. So he's getting greedy with his expansions on the deer line. He's playing very tight. And there it is. Now he's going to drop his third TC. And this is just TC warfare right now. You get a TC. You get a TC. What's that? You're playing England? You don't get a TC. Everyone else, though, gets TCs. It's just, it's going to be interesting to see if there's a 4th town center in this situation. I think the funky thing about town center spamming in Dry Arabia is exactly that. It's dry. It's dry the resources that, you know, you'd otherwise milk with this situation, right? Like, you haven't got these natural protection points. You haven't got this huge wood line in front of you or 12 different gold lines, Congo lining out in a direction. It's a lot more spread out. So usually when you condense these TCs, it can be a bit risky. But that's where the power of wheelbarrow tech comes in. Wheelbarrow tech really has enabled these players to play a lot looser with their economy because your villagers move so much quicker to it, right? They're able to shift across. You can see at 15% movement speed buff. That's less time running, more time gathering. And that's why I'm kind of ripping my hair out at the fact that Tatoh, still at almost 9 minutes in this game, does not have wheelbarrow tech research. He hasn't even started it. It makes me wonder what his plan is. Because right now, his gold isn't being sorted. He's barely got anyone on it, so this isn't an immediate tech up. Instead, he's scaling into the military force right now. On the other side, looks like Leenock is prepping himself as well. I like the way he's daisy chaining this as well. Like, he's getting efficient towards his berry bushes. That's something that needs to be fixed in Tatoh's economy, in his infrastructure, rather. Remember, guys, the way it works is you want to unlock these golden ages as the Abbasids. And you unlock them by linking your structures. And this is my concerning part about what Tatoh's done here already. He's already failed to crack tier 1. I look at the other side at Leenock. Well, he's healthily in there. He's 4 buildings through it right now. And it's because, if you look, he daisy chains. If we look at Tatoh's, on the other hand, it's not as pretty. Right? Like, his daisy chain structure, which for some reason, why is that not showing? That's a bit funky. I think it's because he hasn't even achieved Tech 1 as why it is. Yeah, you see the pluses here. He hasn't linked his secondary TC. He hasn't linked his third TC. Even if he linked his TC, it wouldn't be linked to this mill. Like, there's a lot of small inefficiencies in the way that Tatoh has constructed his base. It's very weird and unusual for an Abbasid player to miss this trick, because I think from day one, this is one of the big things that Abbasid players were linking into. It's also why Abbasid players just compound their town centers. I think a lot of people, like, the obvious reason is defensive elements, right? If we get raided, free TCs are firing arrows on them. There's enough room to garrison a lot of your villages. It's fairly safe. But the other economical benefit, other than protecting your economy, is actually just inflating the Golden Age. Something that is just still not there for TaToH. And it should be, really. Like, as he builds these new houses, like, why are these houses not daisy chaining towards the TC? Why are they not daisy chaining over here? I almost feel like he hasn't even noticed that this TC isn't included right now. He might eventually fix it with an additional lumber camp, but I've also got this weirdly bad feeling that he's just going to lumber camp right here where my cursor is, and he's going to miss out on the opportunity to actually gain that TC once again. So, troublesome situation. Looks like there are going to be camel archers coming out for TaToH, and in fact, camel archers on both sides. I like this play. With the horsemen as well, it's very interesting out from Leenock. The camels kind of make sense, but if your opponent's running camels as well, that means your horsemen are going to just get nerfed on the damage, right, due to the camel unease. However, it is a cool solution to the camel archer itself, because we have to remember it's a ranged unit, and what do horsemen get bonus damage against? It's simply tiled ranged. And the cool thing about this, actually, is I don't think camel unease affects the bonus damage. I'll have to check this, like, specifically in the numbers, because I haven't noticed it before. It's one of those very kind of, like, curved to the side situations. It's very kind of pocketed off by itself. And because we haven't seen camels that often in the past, they've just been seen as, like, you know, dogs with higher legs. We haven't really got the opportunity to look at it in detail, but I guess we will here. So there'll be a ride-in. So remember, it should be... So there you go. So he goes down to 7 damage, but it still keeps the +9. This is really interesting, actually. So... I think that's something that I'm surprised didn't get changed. With camels being considered so weak, right? And everyone just rolling their eyes like, oh, why would I ever want camels? This is possibly part of, like, the issues. Like, you look at that, and you'd think that there's something like these auras that increase damage or whatever, or decrease damage, which would affect bonus damage. But it doesn't. Like, so that plus damage is safe. So you lose 2 damage when realistically, these horsemen should be losing 4 damage. The only issue, if you were to make that change with camel unease, so it does affect bonus damage, is that then opens up the floodgates for, like, well, if I'm going to get negative damage from camel unease, if something gives me bonus damage, should it not give me bonus damage on my bonus damage? And then we just have loads of bonus damage. I'm saying bonus damage too much, I know. But for example, let's say if we looked at, you know, the Roos with their Saint's Blessing. Well, it gives +1 attack. Should it not give +1 attack if you have bonus damage as well? Like, it opens up this floodgates of, like, question marks about what should or shouldn't be, like, scaled, right? Right in. Camel archers. Like I said, this is not good for TaToH. This trade is not going to work out well. However, if he gets on the villages, it's not too bad. The problem is if he hangs around, this damage is going to add up very quick. You are tanky at 175 health, but with no melee resistance and still being poked for a ridiculous 16 damage from this cheap-ass unit. You just don't want to turn around. And while that's all happening, tech ups are going to be complete on both sides, so it looks like they're locked in. They've been keeping a decent scale at this stage. And these horsemen will be a very good solution. I'm surprised TaToH hasn't started to ride out his own. Instead, he is going to be going into the spearmen. An interesting choice considering your opponent's composition of horsemen plus camel archers is actually better. I think it's something easy to forget here, but, like, yes, these spearmen do get bonus damage against your horsemen, but then your camel archers get a ridiculous amount of bonus damage against the spears. So right now, I actually like Leenock's composition a lot more than I like TaToH's. TaToH needs to kind of sidestep into something a bit more impressive. And looks like spears are coming up for Leenock as well. Interesting that both of them opted into this. I guess it's cheap cannon fodder, and if you're just trying to funnel your opponent towards a location, it can be effective there. But still, a little bit surprising that they've both chosen to invest in Vet Spearmen. I guess the argument you can make is this Civ does use Spearmen incredibly well, right? Like with Phalanx, it's an incredibly effective solution. And also something that I am kind of, I don't know, a bit biblical about, I guess I could say, with my approach to Abbasids, is I'm always big on having some component of your army that is infantry. The reason being is this right here. The ability to build up siege weapons in the field is huge for the Abbasids. And I have noticed a few players just going, you know, this Camel Archer Horseman or Lancers as well. Like, everything is just mounted. And although it gives you that dynamic force that's able to raid quickly, you miss out on the ability to end the game. It's kind of comparative to, like, when you watch say, a French player play, where they raid, they oppress their opponent, the fuel age, and then they kind of run into this like issue of like they're either big enough to just win the game by default, or their opponent has kind of equal army and they can't breach their base because it's hard to switch into siege. One of the cool things the Abbasids have, same as the Mongols, is they don't have to worry about that expensive cost to go into siege. At least not the initial investment, right? Of 300 wood per, which means you quickly get these Mangonels, these Spearmans up in the field. And it means that usually at the start of Castle Age, when you've amassed like 20, 30 troops, and you're standing outside your opponent's base, you build the weapons to get in their base, right? You don't just have to rely on knights diving in and sacrificing their health to do trades. You just sit, you poke and prod with Mangonels from afar. Something we haven't highlighted is Leenock has been penning himself in, surprisingly enough. This is due to the worry about the Camel Archer raids, right? Like, these units are quite effective. 11 damage, 175 health. Pause wall on the side is going to be a fail. But it is an interesting idea to just kind of fully wall yourself in, considering that TaToH hasn't really shown any signs of melee force. You saw a few spearmen, but you aren't seeing any like raiding cavalry. The same way that you have horsemen, he hasn't copied you there. So this could be very effective at just denying TaToH territorial gain for quite a while. In the meantime, TaToH is also going to be forced to constantly respond to these raids on his side by these horsemen riding around. Horsemen that still have not been upgraded. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think these horsemen scale reasonably well into this game. But I guess at this stage, for him, it's just a throwaway force. Textiles was researched by TaToH, so this raid is not going to be that effective. It looks like most of them are going to be able to garrison. But that is going to shut down a lot of your economies. You have to shift them off these lines. You can see now, TaToH's dragging away. That means he's just not gathering on these locations. And Leenock's goal here isn't to kill, it's just to delay. That every second that he forces you to walk villages towards TCs is another second they're not gathering for you. And it means that Leenock in the next minute or two, you see on the numbers, right, he's clearly ahead. And this is because he's grinding his opponent's economy to a halt, and he's able to go aggressive with his force because of what he's done back in his base, where he's walled himself in. So TaToH doesn't have any counter options where he says, oh, if you raid me, I'm going to raid you, mutually assured destruction, right? Instead, it's just you being constantly raided, having to respond. It's a little bit like the start of the Rus campaign, right? Where you're like, oh, well, our palisades are destroyed, we haven't got defenses up, but if we put defenses up, those pesky Mongols won't get at us anymore. However, there is a stage where those defenses become pretty moot, and we might be approaching that as TaToH has made a hard switch into the man-at-arms, has Mangonels already in the field. And it's Springald, so Leenock really is playing a super defensive style of Abbasids. It's surprising as well. I feel like, in my eyes, I think in the last, like, 5 minutes or so, he's had kind of better posturing to maybe do more damage. But instead, Leenock is just being very responsible with his approach to this game, where he's not essentially just going all in on a moment that maybe cost him the game. However, this might cost him dearly. Oh, they sniped it. They moved too quick, so he's got to deny his own keep. I don't think he had more. He couldn't have had many villages. No, he had like a small group of villagers out here. I think he had maybe 10 villagers max, which is just too trivial to pick apart. However, now is the problem. Like TaToH, he takes this initial lead. He takes the center. I don't want to see him push in. Like, his opponent hasn't revealed his hand. And Leenock, as we can see, is playing Spring with something that TaToH doesn't know about. So he could instantly lose everything. Looks like he'll shift away. The mags could easily be exposed here. I'm kind of surprised that Leenock isn't going for it yet, but instead he's constructing the Mangonels. One is up. Needs to start firing. Crossbows are going to engage. He's going to cancel the secondary one. Springals need to actually target out the Mangonels. Mangonels not showing just yet. TaToH trying to wrap around, but being body blocked here. He can't reach the Springals, which means the Mangonels that he have will not be effective. I see that. Springals, they're standing on the ground. They're taking a lot of damage. They will be able to burst down one of the mags, but the second one is going to survive for the moment. The man-at-arms are going to ride through and look to burn down the Mangonels as a counter-attack, and that means all siege weapons gone on both sides. And Leenock now posturing with a superior force means that TaToH has to back away, and this is the problem. Because of that walling, because of that scouting vision we talked about, right now Leenock is playing this very kind of enclosed game where he doesn't reveal his hand. He allows TaToH to run out with a force that's a bit of a gamble, and when he runs in with this many camel archers and just discovers there's barely any spears here, TaToH doesn't have any value. And now TaToH, this desperation, trying to get this keep up before it gets spotted. However, is it going to be quick enough? I think so. 24 villagers should be good enough. However, a few of them might get sacrificed. Man-at-arms still pushing forward. Keep is finally going to go down. And it looks like TaToH will garrison it to just push back Leenock's forces. Leenock needs to retreat. A few troops will be lost on the outro, and he's going to bring out his own keep. So a little bit of a stalemate setting in. But this keep should be more successful. There's a defensive force here to actually hold. So the villagers aren't going to be easily exposed. TaToH is going to be held back, and he is going to have to retreat. No raids on the other sides. And Leenock, one thing that has to be highlighted about his style here, he hid his hand, he protected himself against early raids, but he will have to come outside these walls soon. Because the big issue about playing Trip, Quad, however many TCs as Abyss is you strip Dry Arabia dry very fast. I'm not sure how you get it drier, but they're finding a way. You know, there's nothing. It's just a husk, a giant sand desert by the time they're finished with it. And Leenock, I like this. Splinter Forces raiding around the sides, because keep in mind that the Tatoh hasn't really played too hard into that mid-ground, at least in a defensive style. He's got a few outposts here, but he is quite kind of retracted in his approach to territorial game. And it means that Leenock, although you might find some value, he's not going to find that immediate exposure that's going to be leaving Tatoh very vulnerable here, right? Like, you'll pick a few villages, you maybe force a bit of attention, but overall, I like the way that Tatoh has played this. A lot of players in this situation, when they see their opponent is pinned in, would get overly greedy. And the reason that Tatoh doesn't do it is because he doesn't have troops everywhere to exploit this, right? He's very much kind of condensed towards the center. He hasn't got maximum raiding forces left, right, and center. He's got a very static force, and it means that he has to be more responsible with his flanks. However, he is going to reveal his flank as he cuts through these trees. And it means Leenock is in. He's going to waste more of his opponent's time chasing after him. The question is, what is Leenock doing elsewhere? Ram being built up. A lot of Rams from Tatoh, but he's the one who's going to come under assault first. Springel's now being built as well on both sides. Leenock, he's floating a lot of resources. He's already done the tech up. Tatoh, he's stuck. Leenock, look at the scaling on this economy. This is insane. They've had comparative numbers, but the difference is where they've invested. Notice that Tatoh has continued to push out these camel archers that have had less value. Meanwhile, Leenock has ditched them. Ditched them for something that's better bang for buck, the crossbowmen and the man-at-arms. It's enabled him to equal out on the siege front, but then also scale his economy to a ridiculous point. And I'm not going to be surprised if I click in here and check for the wheelbarrow. Wheelbarrow finally being researched, but I don't even know how long it took in the end. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 12, 13 minutes before Tatoh gets it. But the other details, because Leenock is pushing so much farmland now, look what he's done. He's done an extra resource like investment on this side, right, with the second tech. So he's actually able to unlock a lot more potential from his farmlands. And when we look at the income per minute, yeah, they're comparative, but the difference, Leenock 49, Tatoh 50 at the moment. But once they're both fully online, there's going to be an easy like 200, 250, maybe 300 leverage in favor of Leenock. And Tatoh will now make his way up. A little bit delayed. It means there might be an opportunity for Leenock to actually assault here. And considering they're both pop capped, I wouldn't be surprised if he rides in. Elite Man Arms upgrade is going to kick in. Crossbows still need to be juiced up. And an ambitious move by Tatoh. This was definitely a misclick. There's no reason you send crossbowmen in like that. However, look what Leenock's troops have found. Straight in onto the villies. And this is a delicate state right now for Tatoh, because Tatoh is fairly kind of drained, shall we say? We warned against this, right? You need to start moving out. It means he has to get risky with these woodlines, because woodlines is definitely a budgeted element of Dry Arabia. Those man-at-arms will be dealt with in the end, though. And I think Leenock did need to go deeper, but he saw the opportunity, right? He understands that wood is going to be the limiting resource. And that's the good news for Tatoh fans is that Tatoh can actually condense his focus on these wood lines to protect them, because that's going to be the resource at this rate that decides the game. Camel archers still marching around on the sides, just trying to make sure there's no flanking force out from Leenock. Leenock, of course, already solidified some control near the sacred site. It denies Tatoh the opportunity to go for that sacred site victory, and also gives him access to these juicy gold veins in the center. And that's the other limited resource on this map. Like, it's gold and wood. Those really are the premium resources here on Dry Arabia. This isn't Age of Empires 2, folks. We get unlimited food on our farms. All right? We would never let anyone die of famine in this world. No, no. Meantime, Treb starts to work on the keeps. Now, trebuchets have been getting a lot more attention in recent weeks. I don't even think it was the buffs as much as the style of Age of Empires that's come out, right? Like, the way that this game now gets played, it is a little bit more retracted at times. There's a lot more outpost spamming, keep spamming, and wall spamming than before. I think it actually lent itself to the value of the Trebs, because it's so hard to reach them now. And looks like it's going to be a move in. That's going to force the garrison of the villagers out. This is a dangerous move right now in from Leenock, but he feels confident about it. Crossbows are going to dish out some damage alongside the man-at-arms. That's where the real damage comes out. The trebuchet is still firing, but this keep is so healthy. And he's making this move because Leenock is fully out of position. Look what he done. Leenock gets punished trying to drop a secondary keep, and there's a raid on the right side, so that's an opportunity for Leenock to push in the center. And because there's only elite horsemen here, it means that he might be okay against this. Tatoh is going to ride in. Crossbows, of course, take that bonus damage from the horsemen. The horsemen are really just eating away at them because the man-at-arms army is already gone. And all this effort, nothing gained for Leenock. Instead, the keeper's going to stand, the villagers will move out to repair it, and Leenock all of a sudden has burnt his entire military force. And on the right side, that's an effective siege. That's the difference maker there. Rams in the mixer, doesn't even need some trebuchets, and these villagers are about to get butchered. And Tatoh, I love this composition now. I wasn't a fan of his mid-game one, but now playing hard into the elite horseman is super effective here. Remember what we said, food, diamond dozen. Wood and gold is the issue. So with this type of composition, Tatoh is still going to have a solid front line with the man-at-arms, which could be his siege builders. But really, his kind of throwaway units fighting ever so often, time and time again, like the first in, last out, are going to be these horsemen that mainly only cost food. And once again, the remarkable part about this is just look at the eco difference. Leenock is floating so much resource. And that's going to allow him to just access the bombards, right? I think this is actually all kind of a catalyst of the fact that Tatoh, despite the fact he does have these horsemen, he hasn't found value yet. This is the first time that he's made his way into Leenock's base, and that's the difference, right? Is that this fight, now likely to go the way of Leenock because he has the spears, is going to force his opponent away. The worrying part for me is that Tatoh has to invest so much to replace his horsemen each time that can be bang for buck, but it means your food surplus is going to dry up quickly. Meanwhile, the difference maker really is the fact that Leenock, he's fielding these quality armies that he rarely throws away. And that's going to be the Rams getting burnt down. Horsemen did breach. That's going to have to be addressed. Spearmen are going to chase them through with a few crossbowmen. And although Leenock might lose a few villagers, it's not really the value that Tatoh is looking for. Tatoh instead now trying to raid in from the west side, but this forward base is so thrifty. There's just so much to it. It's hard for him to get through. Bombards now arriving on the front. And with the trebuchet still working, that keeps going down. Oh, Bombard's gonna be okay, just about. Villagers move out and they're not being targeted. Trebuchet is gonna be assassinated around the back from the horseman though. The Bombard's still alive. The keep is gonna survive as well, but they just can't get through the cannon. The cannon is just too tanky. I say that, it's getting a little bit closer. Now with the arrival of more of the horsemen, Tatoh, is it too late? Oh, it's so close, he can't get it. He can't get it, it's gonna survive. It's actually gonna live. Bombard's gonna stay up. Villager repair, MVP, and now the Spearman riding in for the right side will punish onto this Villager line a little bit. And although he is keeping the keep up, the damage is being done to Tato's eco front. He's starting to be assassinoed time and time again. He's not able to actually float 200 eco, 200 pop rather, which is exactly what Leenock is doing at all times. Oh, and these villagers are just getting butchered, and the Spearmen don't care. Boiling oil, whoop-de-doo. They dip themselves in a little bit of that each day just to make sure they get that extra resistance with 179 health. Courtesy of the military tech that you get from your wing. And all of a sudden, the cannon fodder as Spearmen are damn effective against the Horsemen especially, and the Horsemen not able to do anything here. Crossbows counter out your man-at-arms. Spearmen easily dish out enough damage to these horses. And these horses, they're going to ride in again. And once again, they're going to fail. The bombard, the repairs aren't there though. Oh no. All right, that was a misclick from Leenock. Will cost him the bombard. And it looks like the keeper's going to survive again, but my concern is how much is lost for Tatoh. I mean, look at it right now. Tatoh, he's butchering more, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like he's getting butchered on the eco game. Leenock, understanding what this game was going to come down to, has just kind of burnt a lot of the map from his opponent. It's scorched earth policy here. If I can't have it, you won't. And if I can have it, you can damn well make sure I'm going to tap it dry before you can arrive and counterattack. And now Spearman moving in, just trying to burn more down, down this network, right? Because this was Tato's last hope, really. He's trying to actually establish control on the flanks to ride in, and he's just getting denied. Now Tatoh did re-solidify control on the east side, but I don't know. I'm just looking at these surpluses, and I'm not confident in Tato's ability long-term at this rate. Something has gone severely wrong in his resource lines. I think he's kind of drained the easy resources, and now Leenock just kind of keeps catching him with his pants down, right? Trying to take a crap in the woods. However, the woods are never there. They're never big enough to hide what he's trying to do here. These forest lines are so thin and so easily raided by Leenock. And now this raid will finally be successful. The keep is going to fall on Tatoh. He needs to back up, but not far he can back up too. Has got the triple siege workshop trying to build in the bombards. But these spearmen, they gap close so quickly. This is a problem. And TaToh, oh no, he's out of position. And I think Leenock knows this. He got butchered. He got butchered over here with his troops, right? So now he's just going to ride in. He sees the opportunity, he smells weakness. He's straight into Leenock's main base. Into TaToh's main base, rather. Maganel. Reasonable trade. Leenock right now is just looking for the eco, looking for anything he can assassinate. He's not going to find it, luckily for TaToh, as most of it is just retreated towards the back here. But it shows a weakness. Now TaToh, he has to regroup his forces all towards his base, but instead decides to go in deep. And this might be punished. Ride in with the horseman onto the sprinkled line. Trebs are here as well. Maganel needs to get his shots out in the crossbows. Finally going to turn around. The panic sets in. Not enough damage dealt. Spearmen, however, they are going to be effective here. Remember, these crossbows, they don't get bonus damage up against the spears. And the spears do hit for 17. It's kind of a ridiculous amount of damage at this stage of the game against crossbows. And so much more cost effective. And although it may look like Leenock is kind of just getting buffered back, held in a little, once again, it's that surplus resource. Look at the difference. You can hear the number that he's replacing with, right? Leenock has thrown away these troops and instantly replacing them. TaToh is very much struggling to float towards that 200 pop cap mark. And these spearmen finally being cleared up, but so much time bought. It's enough time for Leenock to deal with the main crossbow contingent, and now setting up the Trebs, he'll move forward to look under the keeps. Crossbows riding in, bombards as well. Needs to be a response force coming out of Leenock. Leenock is busy sniping out all these villagers around the back of him. We'll finally get through them. Now he needs to address the main force. The bombards are dishing out a lot of damage to this keep. It is full and fast. Maganel's getting in range, not able to fire off in time. Instead, he's going to take the Maganel shots. Nice move from TaToh there. Sidesteps the problem for the moment. Bombard's not addressing the Maganels just yet. More mags coming out, trying to deal with the front line here. The ride-in, Leenock has to go for it with the spearman. Straight onto the bombard, but not enough damage here. It looks like TaToh is holding, but now Leenock starts to regroup. A lot of AFK spearmen that can get involved in the mixer right now. Trebuchets, in the meantime, assassinating the keep on the west side. And TaToh, this army looks so small. Despite the Maganel fire, despite the lead on the siege, he's losing it all. Bombard's gonna fall. Movement through. It's just throwaway units. Leenock has just, I don't know, he's mind-controlled them. He's hypnotized them. It's like, if you see a siege weapon, you must destroy it. But what about my life? What about my family? How will they do without me? It doesn't matter. Just kill the siege. Okay, we'll do it. That's exactly what they've been doing. Even butchering the villagers at the moment who are trying to repair. I mean, these spearmen still, to this point, unanswered by TaToh. TaToh, who, by the way, has been pushing archery units. Crossbow for a long time now still does not have archers to counter this simplistic but effective unit. And remember, folks, this is the bread and butter of the Abbasids. This is your best damn unit. This thing scales fantastically at this stage in the game. The Phalanx means that double the amount of units are attacking the counter melee parts. If you're not playing into spears, you're playing into a loss. And that's exactly why Leenock continues to float thousands of surplus food at all times. With TaToh, he's just taking the food out of the kids' mouths. He's saying, sorry, we can't feed your children today. They've got to go to war. And I think we're approaching the end here. I mean, you look at it, it's 140 eco, like 140 pop roll. I don't know why I keep saying eco. Apologies today, guys. But he's stuck at 100 eco. That's great. The military is the problem. His eco isn't big enough to float his ego. He thought he could confidently run in the center, but instead it's going to be Leenock moving forward now. With a keep in TaToh's base, on the edge, in the siege district, it means you can't get bombards in play anymore. And TaToh, he hasn't tapped out just yet, but where the hell do you go from here? You lost control in the center battle. You're struggling to find wood to tap into. Son, I think you're looking like you're kind of cooked and done at this stage. I mean, he's got keeps on the right side. Yeah, he's got some eco running there. But that doesn't matter to Leenock, because he's still floating eco himself. He can just run into the base. And you can see he's dropping outpost now. He's pinching him. He's making sure that TaToh has nowhere left to run and hide. And it really feels like there's not much left in this one. I mean, TaToh, he won't tap out just yet, but I'd be lying if I'd say, you know, I'm not surprised. Like, I feel like this is a game where you probably know it's over. I don't know if TaToh's just taking the extra time to kind of figure out in his mind where it all went wrong, but there is no move left. TaToh is all but done in this one. I mean, you know it's bad when Mangonel's just riding through your base chasing you. The crossbow army, that's going to be depleted. I mean, Tatoh now down to 17 military. Leenock up at 85. And you got to give Leenock credit where credit is due. The way he won this, it was the attrition battle. It was the resource front. So much more efficient. The choice to go wheelbarrow early. The prioritization onto the efficiency upgrades. The fact that he actually spreads his eco a lot wider, a lot quicker. He initially ensures that he has this protection behind palisade walls, meaning he has to invest less in the military force early on. And then when he's ready, when he's bulked up over 100 eco, he floods out onto the plains. And he is the one rich from it. Tatoh, he's the one who's going to be a game down. I think he knows where this went wrong too. I think he's a smart enough cookie that will understand that it really was a resource battle, and it was a resource battle that he wasn't able to play into. I mean, he's trying to recover with triple TC drop, but folks, this is definition in denial. Because although you might get 3 TCs up, your primary TC's down, and with the Abbasids, when you lose that House of Wisdom as well, you're dead. Because you only have 2 landmarks. And that landmark is going to be exposed. The Trebs are moving in for it next. I wonder if Tatoh realizes these TCs won't save him. I don't know. Like, I know when I first started playing, I was like, oh, yeah, maybe a secondary TC acts as the primary TC when the primary one goes down. But I think he knows. It's just he doesn't want to give up any game, right? Because you know that you're going to be on match point after this if you lose this one. But I think there is value, there is honor in kind of calling when it's done. I mean, you're 36 minutes into this game. It's not 5 minutes in where you've kind of re-GG'd out when you could have recovered. This game, your base is being sieged, your base is done. I think Tatoh, he'll understand, like, if he's going to be stuck in mirror matchup situations in the future, if you're not able to transition ahead of your opponent, you need to control resources, because resources really are king a lot of times in these mirror matchups, especially these eco-focused ones like the Abbasids. Whoever has the bigger bank has the bigger dub. As the only dub in this situation. As Leenock will hang around to the bitter end, but with the House of Wisdom on fire and about to die, it is going to be Leenock taking the early lead here on Dry Arabia in the Abbasid matchup. You didn't see what happened here, and apologies, I keep going down because my proper chair broke, so I've got this crap one that decides to turn me into a dwarf across the course of about 20 minutes. Game 1 went the way of Leenock. It was a mirror matchup, well played by him. Better exploitation of the map, better usage of the Golden Ages. But we're going to go into a different type of Golden Age. As we are heading down Danube River, it is going to be another mirror matchup, this time between 2 gold lovers in the HRE on both sides of this river. Let's hop in as we get underway with game number 2. And it looks like it's going to be Leenock starting with that central spawn in the north. And in the south, Tatoh is going to get that more condensed in the corner style of spawning. Kind of interesting thought here, actually. When I've looked back at most of the games we've seen on Danube across these qualifiers, I feel like a very oddly skewed number of them were the northern player being in the corner. And I feel like there's something about the generation patterns that just make this top northern corner better for HRE players. We can't quite see it here because obviously it's not doing the same type of spawn because the northern player, as I said, is in the center. But a lot of times you have, you know, your wood line here, you have your gold kind of here, deer here, another wood line over here, something like that. Like, it's easily condensable to the point that you can actually get free of your resources underneath an Arkan Chapel, which is a huge booster to the HRE if you're able to get that. So let's check how this has worked out on both sides. So Tatoh, he's going to have to make the hard choice. Do I want deer and wood, or do I want wood and gold? I would say playing towards the wood and gold is nice. It just allows you to condense your economy and pushing towards the waterfront. And you can also boost your food income on the waterfront, right? So deer aren't as crucial. Meanwhile, on the other side, though, this is also a pretty juicy option. I mean, you look at what Leenock's got. Like, Leenock, he's got the food, wood, and gold potentially just about reaching on this side, or he's got the deer and wood. I expect him to play towards deer wood here, just because it flows towards the waterfront as well, which he's already dropped the dock on, so he's going to be looking towards the fishing, and this might just make him think about shifting the wood line to the north and get the gold as well. The interesting part is because these HRE players tend to rush so quickly into Castle Age, this whole element of, like, maximizing the triangle is less valuable from the gold perspective, because your gold is going to be coming from the relics. And when you're playing an HRE mirror matchup, it's even easier to think maybe I just neglect the gold because I just want that Castle Age rush as quickly as possible. That initial influx of gold is important, but everything else, not so much. And if you have to, like, weigh it up, you can logically just build another prelate, send him over to, like, 10 villages tapping gold, and you'll very quickly get that 600 gold you need for castle. I think that's what makes it more lucrative to play into wood and like, the food long-term, is the reality, like, for these tech ups, you need a lot more food. And if you think about what's going into your economy early on, it's food and wood in a lot of places, right? So in terms of food, like, you're using it to produce these villages constantly. In terms of wood, you're using it to produce these fishing boats constantly. What are you using for gold? If you're just rushing castle, the only thing you're paying for with gold are these prelates. And that means you don't actually need as much additional gold factor in your eco than you do of wood and food, especially on water hybrid maps. So we'll see where they're going to play to in probably a few moments, as they are looking to ramp up now for the tech up. Remember that whenever you play onto the Docklands, your tech up timings are going to be slowed down. You aren't going to crack it as quickly as you normally would, because you are sacrificing a lot of your initial investment, your initial income rather, to sacrifice, like, to convert it into investment, right? Like, you know that these fishing boats are going to return their dividends a few minutes down the line, but they'll return them in giant chunks. So that's why when we see England, for example, in water hybrid maps, they tend to ignore the waterfront because they actually want to crack the power spike timing feudal a minute or two quicker, because getting those initial lombos out matters. Meanwhile, in this matchup, you know, unless you're playing for an all-in HRE feudal age rush, you don't really care about the efficiency of your feudal timing. And especially when you're talking mirror matchups, like, yeah, you're not playing into those feudal rushes. I don't remember the last time I saw in an HRE mirror matchup a player play into a feudal age rush. It just doesn't feel desirable. Something that does feel desirable in this map, by the way, is the generation for Tatoh. This is pretty ridiculous. Every single relic bar 1 is closer to him. Okay, actually, no, that's unfair. I'd say 2 are closer to Leenock. So obviously he's got this one in the corner, it's pretty safe. Then this one down here, if you don't like a tape measure distance, it's further to Tatoh's base. But overall, I'd be a little bit frustrated if I'm Leenock, because look what's happening. This is what I mean by it gets easy for Tatoh, is you drop these palisades also on the center island, right? Because you're central, like, you're kind of central to the crossing, you're a lot closer to the crossing than Leenock is, you're able to reach this relic quicker. Like, if neither of them built military units and they just ran relics out in a race at the same time, Tatoh should arrive at more of these relics before his opponent. He will definitely get, obviously, to these 2 quicker, but I think even this third one, he'll get there a little bit quicker. And this can be the edge. And it's smart of Tatoh to identify, but yeah, Leenock, he's a smart cookie. He's shifting across himself. He feels something's not right here, so he sends out a villager. This is a smart move. It could just be an outpost drop to protect the relics. If it is, this is really big brain. I don't see enough HRE players do this. At this stage in the game, like, neither of you have the ability to really field those aggressive military units, right? You're not going to stop off from archery range. You just want straight into castle to get stable. So, or maybe go stable and get a few horsemen. So at this stage, just do this. He's going to go for palisades instead. You could have realistically outposted this. I think an outpost would have been fantastic as well. But he'll just palisade it in. He'll ensure his opponent can't get it. And this is highly underrated. We saw this a lot when the meta was Roost, right? A lot of players playing against Roost would start to drop these palisades to deny their opponent after their castle age rush, knowing their opponent is not out in the field and being aggressive. Why is it that I'm only seeing this for, like, the first time in weeks for HRE? This is such a big deal. And it's really smart by Leenock to identify this. I don't think Tatoh would have expected it until he saw that villager running out. Tatoh wouldn't have even seen this if it wasn't for the fact he was trying to palisade this area in. But Leenock, he beats him to the punchline. He's doing it again and again. I love this. This is why this guy decided to be deserved rather to be at LAN. I'm looking forward to these type of curveballs, because if I actually think of the other top players who are attending that LAN, when I watch recent gameplay, like, if they're doing HRE, I don't remember any of them doing this. Looks like they will now both be up in feudal. So Leenock, of course, was a little bit delayed because he was investing a lot of wood in doing this, plus the fact that he was going for an interesting Ark and Chapel drop. So he's going to get... Okay, this is smart. This is actually really smart. I didn't notice this gold vein. I was so fixated on this one. And this is why Leenock is going to a LAN and I'm just sitting here at home watching him in awe. Is he actually goes for a little bit more risky of an Ark and Chapel placement, right? This isn't protected by the TC. But because it's so close to the Dockland, it is protected by his naval force. It means that he's able to get the gold, the wood, and the deer which means he's getting the Holy Trinity. Meanwhile, on the other side, look at what TaToH has to settle for. It's just wood and gold. So if he ever gets pushed off water, he has nothing. And the interesting part is that he doesn't have protection for his waterfront right now. Like, he's blocked the crossing, but if you talk about the central crossing, Leenock beamed to the punchline. So Leenock actually has the ability to push out if he wants and instantly blow up the food eco that TaToH is relying on right now from the waterfront. Meanwhile, Villager, is going to get assassinated by the scout at this rate. Can he shift in? It looks like one of the walls wasn't built, so... Oh, he's not going to do it. Leenock could have actually walked past that. In fact, did he still miss another one? I think he missed another one. Yeah, so he doesn't actually manage to get past the wall in time. That's kind of unfortunate. He could have easily bought a lot more time, maybe got a second wall up. But he has at least blocked in this one relic. So it's going to be a bit more frustrating for TaToH, but TaToH is moving out now. And Leenock, he's going to match the timing. In fact, I'd say he's a little bit better for it. Their food is matching, but he has a slight lead on the gold front. He does need to get some troops out, though, and it looks like he's going for the racks. I think, if anything, Leenock is kind of relying on the fact that he has these palisades down to try and slow down TaToH. And because TaToH has already started to push out these horsemen, if you tried to now play into a stable, you'd be playing behind. So interesting play by Leenock. It's a little bit risky, but with a double racks, I think he can easily secure 3 of these relics in time. He needs to be fast. Because TaToH's ready, and he is underway. And it is going to be 14 people working on it. Leenock, meanwhile, he still doesn't have the gold. It's going to finally come through for him now, and he'll immediately drop the Regnitz Cathedral right next to his TC. So a little bit more retracted. Meanwhile, TaToH already just pushing it to a point where he can easily quickly pick up the closest relic. And just getting that first relic a bit quicker is very valuable. Remember, folks, that it's going to generate 300 gold per minute. So if you're able to get the first one in just half a minute quicker, my God, you see the returns. If you look at from Leenock's perspective, that first relic is pretty far off. It looks like his prelate is moving out now. There is a horseman here, though, so he needs to make sure the spear is quickly behind him. Leenock, I don't know if one spear is going to be good enough. He might get pipped at the post, but it looks like TaToH's being a greedy boy. He moved all the prelates out here. Oh, no. What? No way you're this greedy. There's no way. All right, you know what? Leenock's going to give him a spanking. He's going to teach him an important lesson in life. First of all, he's going to pick up this relic on the central island. That denies TaToH the easiest relic he could have had in this game, all because of his HRE greed. The greedies, as I like to refer to them. Well, LOL's going to come out. TaToH hasn't even noticed. We'll finally try to shift away. But he takes enough damage that I don't think you can assassinate the prelate anymore. The spearman can easily protect him. And he'll look to do that. One more stab, and that is going to be him losing the horseman. So that's one relic down. Second relic going in. Third relic he hasn't got access to. So TaToH is only going to get 2 relics right now. And it means there's going to be a big fight for that southern one. And with Spearman pushing in, remember that Leenock has the edge over TaToH. So TaToH, he really needs a new troop. I don't like him just having a stable. Because I think he will lose this battle. It's double racks after all. And also, because Leenock is going for a more cost-efficient unit, this frees up resources elsewhere, right? Like, he could easily go into boom ships earlier than his opponent. He could also just look to transition into a new military force, like maybe he's thinking about going for crossbows straight away. I think there's a lot more options available to Leenock right now. And it all comes down to that choice to double racks compared to the stable drop. Because these spearmen, they cost 80, and they counter the thing that costs 120. And if you go for the thing that costs 240, oh my god, no, I don't even want to think about it. So, attempt to burn this down now. Meanwhile, spearmen are going to be denied. The palisade gate is up. The problem that TaToH has, he has to be in position with a prelate, and it looks like he has got one out here still. But spearmen are wrapping around, and they might be quick enough to punish this before they get access to the relic. And it feels like this is a bit of a ruse, really. TaToH did get eyeballs on these spears as they're standing on the sacred site. But it looks like TaToH is continuing to push out, bringing his own prelate out now as well. Access will be gained, and you'll notice there will be a hiding of this prelate, but with the upgrade coming through with veteran spearmen being achieved, they could assassinate the prelate before you can do anything here. And yet, TaToH is aware of it. Scout gives him vision. He's going to just move away. He needs to try and draw attention away, but Leenock is a smart cookie. He says, wait, I've done, no. I've done this trick to other people. I'm not leaving that unguarded. You are not sneaking a prelate in. Now, Hulks are coming out for TaToH. Leenock hasn't matched him on that front just yet. More spearmen are pushing out, however. And with the prelate moving through soon, this could be a problem for TaToH. TaToH doesn't really have the troops to get this relic. And this is my concern. He's finally switching over. The Rax, Langsnick are pushing out. Leenock needs to be fast, but his prelate, he stopped off for the sacred site, so he's not even going to be able to move quick enough to get this. And the prelate, he's been stitching the whole while. Leenock is going to move in now. If he assassinates, this is big. The Langsnick, the Langsnick are not quick enough here. Spearman, can they do this? It's going to be tough. I think there's a small opportunity. You need to be fast, though. And it looks like he might be quick enough. If you stop to Wallalow, you're dead. And if he denies him here, he might be able to get troops out in time that Tatoh won't get the relic. And he'll shift straight past the Langsnick. Moves in. One more stab. We'll put that relic on the ground. We'll lose a few of these spearmen. The Langsnick are going to be frustrating, but if he just continues to zerg out, and that's what he's doing, this is going to be a problem for Tatoh. And the problem he has right now is his Langsnick. If they get picked off one by one, they're not a cost-efficient solution here, especially with Man-at-Arms now showing up for Leenock, and he continues to do it. The Congo line is not efficient right now. The assassination attempt is going to fail as the prelate shifts away. Spearman now poking at him, and it looks like Tato's got tunnel vision. He's chasing after the prelate, and even if he snipes him, it means he's going to lose the entirety of the Langsnick. There it is, 2 more fall. 2 heavily injured. Tatoh, the cost of this as well. Remember, these Langsnick are not cheap. The good news, however, is that Tatoh, his eco is a lot more healthy right now. Question is, what can he do with it? The question is, who is going to get this goddamn relic? You can see another prelate waiting in the tree lines to the north here. On the east side, prelate has picked this up. With this many spearmen, with this many man-at-arms, though, if he ever catches up to you, you are going to be donezo. So you need to be careful. And he can't afford to replace the Langsnick right. Rather, he doesn't want to. Not in mass. Because he lost a lot of troops there, folks. Looks like the Hulk has breached through. So Tatoh forced to retreat away. Remember, he was attacking the palisade while the Hulk was attacking him. But now his fleet on the water is exposed. And this is going to cost him dearly. Second Hulk now coming through. Shift towards the center to try and deny the sacred site. And it looks like there was a chase down, but they weren't able to find him. Oh, no. This is a big hit. This is a really big hit. So Tatoh, he's going to have a huge gold income advantage. He already has the edge on surplus resources as well, incredibly enough. The food is, this is the one where Leenock has the lead, but gold-wise, it's a triple up for Tatoh, and that's about to accelerate further. And with a marketplace down, he can actually use this to his advantage to trade for whatever he needs. In the water, he's trading effectively as well. 2 Hulks able to take out 1, and that's going to force Leenock to retreat away. Really needs some boom ships out, but instead he's going to continue Hulk production. However, if he continues at this rate, it won't end well for him, because the issue he's going to have is they're both playing one dock. Right now, I feel like Leenock, he needs to be playing towards his sacred sites. He needs to actually negate most of that relic difference. Because if he gets both sacred sites, not only does he force his opponent to come out and play, but that gold lead that Tatoh has passively goes down to just 100 gold per minute. Now, we look towards the next switchover, right? Because you've got to be thinking, what can I add next? What's going to be the power spike? Looks like Leenock does go for the double blacksmith, so he's been boosting the upgrades quickly. It's only 1 blacksmith on the other side, but Tatoh is doing well for himself. Both do have the Marcher drills, incredibly powerful tech. One that I think a lot of HRE players, people who weren't necessarily HRE spammers, have started to identify as an incredibly valuable tool and should always be getting every game. So, tech up underway for Tatoh. You can see Leenock only a little bit behind him, though. And this delay with his placement means that Tatoh, like, he's going to lose most of the lead of teching up ahead. You can see Leenock is practically there. And yeah, there it is. It's going to drop his as well. His is going to be a little bit delayed as he shifts across. He could actually move the wood line across to do this quicker. But he's a little bit more condensed. I think Tato's was a little bit more greedy, looking for that eco expansion. Just wants to be able to push out villages and instantly have them do something. It will be an edge, but not a big one. Or it might not be an edge at all. What? How did he sneak this in? Leenock! The Prelate Assassin troops were still here. Construction. It should still go down. I think there's enough villages this will complete, but it is a hit to your initial eco. It's going to force more villages across to ensure it goes down. Tatoh will manage his tech up, but it does cost him a little. And you can see how he's suffering on the eco front as well. A clear dominant lead on economy for Leenock. And because of how quickly he's going to move up just behind Tatoh, that lead is going to be maintained. Well, that was too close for comfort. I mean, luckily for Tatoh, Leenock, the troops he had here, that was the relic hunting crew. If this was a few Langsnick, this might have just been GG. Instead, Tatoh keeps his dreams alive. Leenock now about to complete his own tech up. And I believe Tatoh is waiting for some tech ups to go through before he tries to take this assault in the center. And he has got a few coming through. Two-handed weapons is about to be there. The Hulks, of course, can't assist this far in land. And right now, like Tatoh, you got to think game plan. What's your win condition now that you've teched up first? Because the problem is sometimes, you know, it seems like a clear advantage when you tech up ahead of your opponent. But it also can be a bait. Because you're so close on your Imperial Age timings, it means that now if you make a choice of a unit type to upgrade and invest in initially, Leenock can just react and get the counter. So it's going to be very important that he tries to hold his hand close to his chest at the beginning of this. And then when he does show what he's actually invested in, he gets value for it. But right now, Leenock is the one looking for value. He marches to the south. He has clear access, and Tatoh once again has not denied him here. And the concern is that Tatoh, you know, he revealed this Palace of Swabia. Leenock knows where the villager printer is, and he's going to head straight towards it. The only good news right now for Tatoh is that there are no Langstek in this formation. If there was, this would be an absolute catastrophe. Oh, well, there are no Langstek on the other side as well. Finally, 1-2 are pushing out, but he's going to need a small contingent of them to address this. You can see, actually, that Leenock's very responsible about this. He waits for the elite man-at-arms upgrade. He even goes to the staggered formation to ensure that the Langstek don't get maximum impact, right? And now he's going to ride in. Straight away, assassinates the prelate in the blink of an eye. And he'll march in here with the numbers in his favor right now, and it looks like Tato's going to give ground. He'll garrison as many villages as possible, but the butchering will commence, and it looks like these are not textiled. So these villages, squishy, only 50 health, they're going to have to retreat away, and that is a lot of your economy not working for you at the beginning of Imperial Age. Look at the numbers right now. Tatoh is not floating surplus. So Leenock, if he splinters into groups and he just runs back and forth through this base, this could spell trouble for Tatoh. Tatoh, while this is all happening, your eyes are going to be on your own base. It means that Leenock can gain ground. He might look to move towards that central island. I'd be a big fan of this because it would give him a staging point to keep up this aggression from. For the moment, he sneaks. Oh, Leenock. He's playing vision perfectly. He's going to reveal himself now on the back farmlands. Tatoh will respond by pulling off of here. But now he has to address groups at multiple locations. This is the value, right? When you're the defensive player, this is the worst case scenario. If your opponent has about 20 man-at-arms, you can just splinter them into groups of 3, maybe even 4, and send them after the economies, knowing you have to respond with force to 1 or 2 maximum. He will clean up the small splinter group. In the meantime, there's going to be a march under the primary TC forcing out a garrison. Leenock, he's actually getting good trades here. Langstek being sniped out, a few man-at-arms straggling around the location. It does work to Leenock's advantage, and it means that he takes the edge to move to the center island and capture that sacred site. And while that's happening, he's got more troops now riding in from the south. And he's peeled them all. Oh, no! Tatoh, he dragged all the troops north. His economy is going to be exposed again, and that means the Leenock's going to ride in once more. Mini cavalry at this stage, and still no textiles coming out from Tatoh. Means that once again, his eco is going to ground to a halt. I mean, look at the difference here. Look how few villages he's got working. Leenock, he's got a huge lead. He's about to crack 100 villages. Meanwhile, Tatoh can't even get up to 69. Oh my. And it feels appropriate because right now he is getting screwed left, right, and center. Leenock's going to pass him a packet of cigarettes at the end of this one. He's probably going to smoke all of them. But not before Leenock smokes him. Despite having the eco lead because he's got 3 relics, despite beating his opponent up to Imperial Age, Tatoh finds no reprieve. These man-at-arms, they're still riding around. Finally, an investment in a keep because he needs these defenses here. The damage really is done. I mean, Tatoh, it's not unrecoverable, but the concern is now that the Leenock has kind of reached that critical mass of villages. It's going to turn into a resource game again. And we know how Game 1 went when that happened. And I think the same's going to happen in Game 2. I mean, Game 1, their eco count was even. Game 2, however, it's a clear and dominant lead for Leenock, almost doubling up Tato's economy units now. Tato's just still not able to solidify control. Never walled on this western side, and it means that Leenock is going to continue to use that as an entrance into Raid Town Central, where he is king of raiding. This small contingent from Tatoh might at least spot it early for once, but it's not going to be able to repel him. There'll be an engagement, and this is going to be a very one-sided engagement. There's a difference between bravery and stupidity. And actually, there's another difference as well, and that's just auto-attacking. And auto-attacking, it looks pretty dumb in this situation. Tatoh going to lose the troops, not able to retreat quick enough. Tries for his own raids, but this feels too little too late. I mean, you can see Leenock, he's already got defensive troops in position. Hulk's trying to slow things down, are being burnt down, but they've sniped out a lot of the man-at-arms, and I think there was a lot more man-at-arms here in the red initially, but these double Hulks, they made the difference. You can see Tatoh now going to move in with a carrot and trip Hulk. Will work to his advantage. The concern is what can you do with it long term, because you're still being assassinated in your base. Oh, and he's doing it. Is he going? Yeah, he's going for the cathedral. He sees the opportunity. If he burns this down, he grinds it to a halt. With this clear eco lead on the villager front, right now, the only thing that is really floating Tatoh is this Regnitz Cathedral. But Leenock, he says, no. I want to find those villagers instead. I like the taste of their blood. And they'll split up to look for clues. And this is what we're talking about. You have to respond in force to each of these groups, which means you're not able to address them all at once. Damage being done. Let's see if Tatoh recalls that very important game mechanic that I've seen 9 out of 10 high-level players forget exists. The Mojo repairs really can save you, but you do have to remember it's there. It looks like he's going to target the stable first. Villagers shifting towards the center. Tatoh, I think he's distracted. He's not going to learn. I don't think he's going to notice what's happening here. He's wasting all this time on Palisades, which means that the man-at-arms are going to sneak into the center. They're going to look to drop a keep, and if that keep goes down, that's going to spell trouble for Tatoh. In fact, his carrot could be sniped by the man-at-arms right now. An interesting move. Leenock, I don't think he knew about the carrot. So it's going to be a denial. He can't get the keep down, and he's still being sniped in the center. He's busy managing what's happening in the base. Snipes out the stable. And it's important that he does this. He does this because he doesn't want to keep that link. He's trying to get rid of the daisy chain so he can't emergency repair. And I don't think he needs to worry about that, because I don't think that Tatoh even knows he has it. Oh my god. If he gets this. It looks like Village is going to move across now. And I think there aren't enough man-at-arms left to finish this, but Tatoh, I don't think he knows about emergency repairs. I think he, like so many players before him, forget that it even exists. Hulk's now moving up. Carrick is coming out. Carrick that is going to struggle to take down a Trip Hulk. But oh, I say that. As soon as I say that, it proves me wrong. Damage too high. Hulk's going to retreat away. And this Carrick from Tatoh, the big mistake, he had to keep it defensive against the man-at-arms, which means it was never part of the aggressive force, which means it was never able to get rid of this dock, and it means a second Carrick is coming out for Leenock, and all of a sudden, this game's about to get a little bit dicey for Tatoh. Interestingly, apparently there are some concerns around repair, the emergency repairs. Apparently sometimes it doesn't trigger. So I have to wonder, like, at that stage, are players even trying to use it, or are they just, like, pretending it doesn't exist? That would be an intriguing detail to, like, know. I'd be kind of just, I'd love to see how many of these players even just try to quickly, like, press in and press V and see if it works, and then if it doesn't, like, you know, manually repair. And knowing that that kind of bug exists, though, it's kind of crazy to think that we're talking about these qualifiers for $100,000 land. That's big money. Winner's going to get $30,000. That's enough money to float you for over a year. Depends on where you live, of course. And we have to worry about things like this where a clear, important mechanic to a totally civ like the HRE doesn't even exist. I mean, that is a little bit of worry. So that's a big letdown. I hope that gets solved soon. Tatoh will try to burn through these Palisades. Will make his way into Leenock's base for basically the first time all game. I mean, he made it to the front before, but this time he's looking to make it in the back. However, with this many man-at-arms on his tail, he can't really stop at any stage. And while that's happening, keeps are going down the center. So Leenock, once again, we said it. It's the resource battle. Look at it. Surplus built for him. Tatoh has nothing in reserve, and he's just outscaling him. I mean, game one, it was the least close. Game one, it was for a different reason. It was the power of the Golden Age. It was the power of Daisy Chain. It was the power of not needing to defend against constant raids and be paranoid about them. But this time around, it really is just a simple number game. Tatoh, only at 90 eco. Leenock's been sitting about 120 to 130 for a while now. And it means he's just able to push out so many more units. He's able to tap these central resources and ensure that once Tatoh does drain his initial base, there's nothing left on the map for him. Man-at-arms in again. Will be annoying. On the Villy line, sniping out a few here and there. He finally will look to just wrap up that contingent of man-at-arms that rode into his eco lines, as Tatoh will find minimum value from them. Carracks are at least defending him for the moment, as Leenock's not taking the best of trades here. And he will be sniped, not able to finish that Carrick off. 100 health will keep it healthy enough. But now bombards are coming out. This is where it gets problematic. Remember, recent patch, they added the bonus damage versus ships. So as you can see there, over 500 damage being done from one bombard shot to a Carrick. That means 3 hits and boom, you're at the bottom of the ocean. That's the problem. That's part of the reason we don't really see Carracks that frequently, is just how easily they're countered by a single bombard, it seems like. You know, you got to remember, guys, these are 8 tile range units. Meanwhile, they're going to be up against 10 tile range units that counter them. It's not a good fight for them. And the other thing to consider, like, I think Carracks are one of the weaker forms that you can get on the war front at tier 4. You know, this isn't a Bao Xuan with a ridiculous pool of health and even more cannons on the broadsides. No. These units feel a lot more flimsy. And he's about to experience that. Leenock, he has vision, he has range, and he's ready to deal the pain. Moving in, bombard shot. 1 Carrick already gone. This is so much economy being sunk. Bombards getting range. They are now in range of the Carracks, but that means that the Carracks want to be able to fire back. They're going to be sacrificing themselves in the blink of an eye. A wrap around and everything on my screen is suddenly blue, and everything is turning dark for Tatoh, as he is just being buried alive. The military force is too big. Tatoh down to 27 milli units. He won't give up without a fight because, well, you don't want it. You're on match point, but this might be the fight to decide it. Man-at-arms in again. Force of Langsneck trying to respond. Emergency repairs. There it is. Tatoh, he gets it off. He mashes V 1,000,001 times. He does manage to get it off, but it's not going to be good enough. Triple bombard and man-at-arms en masse is going to burn it to the ground. And with the keep in rubble, Tatoh's hopes of winning this game might be so as well. Langsneck moving across, trying to block his opponent out, but it's just not a good fight. There's no amassment. There's no curvature for maximum swing for the Langsneck, and the Langsneck themselves are not a tanky unit. And when this force gets wiped out, this game is all but done. There's nowhere left for Tatoh to run and hide, and Leenock will make it an emphatic 2-0. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? And a mirror matchup, apparently Leenock is, because this did not even look close. Leenock's dominance on the resource fronts, his understanding of manipulating the map and draining it dry in mirror matchups will give him not 1, but 2 games in this best of 3. And by my calculations, that's the majority, so that means he just wins.